Welcome to New Venice. This is a city I built as a tutorial city for a build-along, if you haven't seen that one already. And now we're going to take this as a serious project in which I'm going to be a bit more creative than usually, and I'm going to try to build a very nice looking city without really taking too much inspiration from real-world cities, but actually trying to, pioneer new ways of doing stuff and also trying to make this look really fancy with a lot of water in. So let's get going. Alright, before we go into the current version of the build, I wanted to give you a little tour of the process of this build. Now, as I said in the intro, this has been the city I used for my build-along tutorial. If you haven't seen that one, you can follow it along. If you're new to City Skylines in general, or City Skylines 2, it's gonna help you to build in this game while building and not, specifically with one tutorial for one thing. It's actually building your city. Now, this has been the main grid with a couple of zonings already done, a main center road layout with some industries, everything in set, and we started to grow our first bigger or density buildings here a little bit over here. Everything is very simple, traffic is not a huge deal at the beginning, and I did take this map basically as intended, I should say, starting on this little bit of island, this half island here in the middle. But what we're going to do as a little outlook into the future is we're going to take this whole thing over here and turn that into our little Venice. At the end of the episode, you'll see that this part over here has already been taken, but we will continue on making some little buckets in here, which all will look pretty cool, even trying to embed a airport very nice into the water, which is also very common. It's a huge map, there's a lot of space to build and branch out to do some other stuff, but this is the first bit, as I said, and not really too much to see right now. The highway connection over here is pretty simple. The train connection over there is not touched quite yet, with a couple of castle ruins everywhere that we can utilize for our old town later on. So there's a good situation that we started with. So let's move on one step further, how I branched out. Right, the next step that we took was branching out the industries a little bit, focusing on a bit of a new area over here with a couple of more high density buildings. We also added a couple of things here with some facility buildings, and we also went into the industry. I may add already, and you'll see that in the next part of the video, that we changed quite a lot before moving on into the time-lapse in a second. But this part over here is definitely the most exciting one, because I decided to go over this side because that's how the wind direction goes, and we also have the chance to put like a lot of industry into this area down here where there's a huge space. There's also some forest for forest industry. We also have forest industry now set up over here. We will have a nice little town that goes into this direction over here, which you'll see also in the time lapse. Now this is really cool because that will give you a little bit of an idea to what we did here, so very pleased about how this turned out. And yeah, just in general, I tried to make sure that I already set the foundation to what is going to be our city center, because the city center will most likely be prominent in this area here. Maybe I'll go over and change this bit here, so we have both sides of this little river flowing through as like the center part of the city, but this will be at a later stage. First of all, the focus should be on that side to get the traffic done and stuff like that, because traffic, as you will see in the real-time part later on, is actually going to be the heaviest problem we are facing at the moment. But yeah, I'm very confident to solve that rather quickly. But this is the second part I took. This is almost at the end of the build-along tutorial, where everything is set in stone, and from over here you can actually go and branch out into whatever you want to do in the future. But yeah, from over here we're going to go now into the time lapse, and then later on we're going to speak again about the current state of the build. Okay, now here we are in the speed build, and I'm going to do a little bit of a voiceover, and then I'll leave you alone with the music to have like a bit of a chilled speed build without commentary today. A little bit of a change, and also because now I'm not 100% feeling well, a bit to secure my voice for later. Yeah, but I want to talk you quickly through what I've been doing. Now this is at the end of the tutorial build. That means the people are handed off into their very own future, and I continued branching out with the city. So this is really all about making sure that this city is able able to grow. I made sure to put in a lot more emphasis on focusing on more commercial zones, making sure that there is a new dense city center in the plannings, and also lay out the roads in a way that they will support the heavy traffic. Spoiler, they don't, but we are going to change that eventually in the future. I tried my best to come up already with solutions before it happens, but the game always finds there's its own way of doing shenanigans with in general with the traffic. It's been a bit of a pain, but I'm very happy with how it turned out to be looking as a shape. I really loved how it turned out. I wasn't too happy with the shape of this little X-styled roundabout here. This is a bit of a bigger roundabout, which is going to happen to help us with the future builds here, but I wanted to have something that is not a in-game roundabout, but actually a actually made one, simply to make it better. Also putting down a couple of parks to make the land value a bit higher here. And yeah, just in general, making sure that this is a new little quarter in which we have some more higher density residential builds. I do have to admit though that this area is going to cause a lot of traffic issues along the way, but I'm going to resolve that. As you can see, I tried to come up with a bit of a different style this time around, to have like a raised road above the others that will bring people over. I even did like a second connection into the roundabout to make sure that, you know, there's a different way of getting in and out of this area. So yeah, I definitely need to change a couple of things, but I am very pleased with how it turned out in the beginning. So it definitely is a guidance for the city that I like, because it really feels organic, it feels it can grow nicely into the future. And we also have the train track in the center, which I wanted to leave here, because at this point in time we don't have the rail station or like the main station quite yet, but it will sit somewhere over here. So there's going to be a huge overhaul in the next episode, which you're going to see in the next episode. Also at the end of this video I'm going to show you in game exactly what's going to happen. Big fan of this build, because it's so different from the other stuff I've done, and I'm very happy with how it yeah, just shapes up, because it's definitely a different challenge to make like a European city or like a huge city without any money constraints, versus a city that was meant as a tutorial with a very good and strong foundation, making sure that you know, grow organically from over here. And this is specifically what I'm happy with. Yeah, this is just like a temporary little roundabout I put here in order to guide the traffic, but yeah, this temporary thing is not really a big thing, to be honest. It's not going to stay here for longer. But yeah, so this is where I hand you off a little bit into the time-lapse without my commentary. Hope you are going to enjoy that. You can see a couple of things I do, and if you find some mistakes, make sure to mention them down below in the comments. I'll talk to you at the end of the speed build again, when we are going into the Venice part of this build. Okay, here I am again. Hopefully you're not too shocked from hearing my voice yet again. But as we are almost finished with the main area here for the first part of our Venice inspired little island area, I wanted to quickly talk about a couple of things that you will see in a minute in the real-time part as well. At some point I was a little bit too easy about building these roads, and I didn't pay too much attention to how exactly the lowered roads look like. So for those of you who haven't seen my tutorial on this key technique, this is done with abusing the system of carving into the land. You know, every road can now automatically carve into the land with creating this wonderful retaining wall. And with this retaining wall, which is actually very much tied to the terrain itself, so you can adjust the height and stuff of this retaining wall by adjusting the height. This is why I like this so much. You don't need to have a road or anything, and you can change this later on even, which is very good and very nice. And obviously I like it because it's so much more thin and so much more stylish to have this kind of key wall, because there's immediately the grass and you can put some plants on top of there and stuff. It looked really good. I am a big fan of this technique. However, as I said, at some point I went a little bit too easy on putting the roads on the ground. So sometimes there's like a little bit of a wobbly road, and I was like, you know, it's gonna be underwater anyways, whatever. However, the water is not actually that high, so later on you'll see some of the roads are still visible and I will have to change them. I'll do that eventually off screen, but in general I'm extremely happy with how that turned out. It's not the most efficient way to bring in these wonderful low residential areas, simply because it's leaving out a lot of space. But once the trees and stuff are grown fully to their full glory, that the trees that I will put in the future, they do not exist quite yet, and a couple of little pavement roads I will put in, it's gonna look absolutely gorgeous. I have already done a couple of tests in a different file, and oh boy, it's gonna look so cool. I'm really looking forward to that. But this is the current state for today. As I said, we will see this in the real-time part in a second, how it exactly looks. I did a couple of little cleanups here and there, put the sewage outlets in another spot, and just in general ensured that this is a good foundation for branching out even further into this Venice styled area. It's going to be a huge one, and I'm going to put some sports facilities and stuff in the center later on. It's going to be looking really cool. I'm really looking forward to the next episode to show you what I've done. But for now, I hand you over to the real-time Rudy to show you the current state of the build. Alright, there we go. You can see a huge step forward. This is the city, how it looks. I actually paused the game over here because we are almost in winter. I'm gonna change over with the UI in a second, but I just wanted to give you a little overview before it's turning winter and it's not going to look that well anymore. So you can see this is our first Venice part. It's not like super detailed at the moment. I will need to change a couple of things, putting some more trees in, bushes and stuff like that. And we need to wait until the water is flown in completely. As you can see, it's not fully filled in yet. There is a little bit of lack of water, as you can see. There's a bit of a connection we need to have until the water goes all in here. Hopefully it does fill up, but you can see already in the beginning here in the front it's already better. It's gonna take a while, and maybe I have to change some of the roads that will not overflow completely, so I may have to change that and just get it done nicer by the minute as I speak. I think I will change a couple of those, but most of it looks really good. I was potentially a little bit too fast at some point, but I do like how it turned out looking with these retaining walls. I'm a big fan of this technique simply because it's some thinner retaining walls like that. I could have done this all a little bit more lower, which is definitely going to happen in the next parts we're doing. So I will branch out in this area. This is going to receive like a little Venice style addition to really connect with this area, and we are going to go a little bit more lower. But now let's actually go into the game and hit play, so to see the problems we are facing at the moment. This is going to happen in the next episode, hopefully. You can see there's a huge traffic issue right over here. I've actually tested a lot of things, but these roundabouts seem not to be a solution at all. They seem to cause more issues than they solve, and so I will have to change a couple of things that hopefully will help me make this whole thing work at some point, because as you can tell, there is really a huge problem with this over here. We don't have an inflow in the city, we don't have an outflow of the city. I definitely have to change this, because otherwise it's actually a problem. But the more we go into this region, you can see this region works a lot better. We do have a couple of problems here with high rent we have to solve. We have a couple of issues with customer lack. This is basically because the overall public transport is not fully done yet, but then we also have nice areas like this one, which works super well as like a little cozy area for the people to live in. I really like this, and I really do like how this inner part of the city is starting to develop, other than this traffic issue we have right now. I think we have to do like another connection to this raised area, so to make them go quicker into this region, so they have an alternate way to go out. And potentially I will have to change this entirely to give people an access to the main road from over here without going into these roundabouts. But there are a couple of ideas. I still have to solve it, and maybe we have to also get rid of the main entrance, so maybe we have to divide this main axis into two, so that one goes directly into this area of the main density area and connects right away here, and the other one goes all the way into the right hand side, and then both are connecting back in the middle as we branch out. Or maybe we make even like a three-way divided road. We have to see how that exactly works out. But yeah, I hit pause now because it's starting to snow, and then in a second you will not be able to see anything. But yeah, there's a lot of things we have to address in terms of traffic. That's gonna happen in the next episode. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this first proper episode of New Venice, which is going to be a more creative, as I said, more creative approach on the game. I'm not going to stick too much to a proper city design. I will try to do the best to come up with creative ways of building certain areas. We're going to have some nice islands. We're going to have some really cool things I have tested already and will now do properly in this build. So it's going to really look cool. And this, as I said, is going to be more like the free version, where I'm not going to force myself to be too realistic or whatnot, to be a bit more creative. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I talk to you in the next one. And if you like this stuff and want to see more in the future, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps me out to grow the channel and stuff like that. Keep on coming, and wish you a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, happy days, and goodbye.